Okay, now we have a couple other settings we have to take care of. Is make sure certain settings are right on this camera. You look at the bottom left portion of the shot here. You have a low, medium, and high, a gain, and then white balance BA. And you see the bottom left. And I'll put my hand right over here, my finger right there. That's the gain, and that's the white balance right there. You want it in B for white balance, and you want your gain in low. What gain is it's an artificial light. Okay, say you're inside and you've got your iris completely open. Sometimes it's not quite bright enough. That's something you gotta understand about cameras. The camera sees light much differently than the human eye. It has about half the capacity of brightness of the human eye, so that's why when you see things through a camera viewfinder, things will look darker. So that's what you always have to go by. Most interiors of a house or something is not good for lighting. That's why it's important to have decent lighting. Sometimes you're stuck, sometimes you have to use that low, medium, high gain when you're inside. I try not to as much as possible, but always pay attention when you get a camera, because some students gonna like flip around with it or play around with it. So when you first check out a camera, make sure it is on the low setting, because you can go out and shoot stuff, and sometimes, yeah, it will do that. It will give you more exposure, but one of the problems of that is that it will sometimes shoot grainy video, and you will not see it until you get into the edit room. I've had that happen to me before in the field, so not a good thing. But as you saw at bottom left corner, make sure your gain is in low. Make sure when you're white balance, what white balance is it's telling us what our colors are. These cameras are very sensitive when it comes to color, especially when you're outside. It can be inside too. It's imperative to understand, because when camera sees colors, you want the camera to see the correct colors. And lots of times when the camera is not white balanced correctly, a red could look more maroon, or you could have everything could look blue because things weren't white, or it could look a little too red. Everything could look a little too red. You want the colors to look specifically as how they're supposed to look. And these cameras can be very picky and very sensitive to what things look like, and that means you will have to play around with that stuff in Premiere to mess around with that. And you don't really have the time to do that when you're trying to, especially in the field, when you're trying, sometimes you have to crash and burn, you have a quick turnaround. The better you are at doing this stuff in the field when you're shooting, the less you have to do in post-production. And a lot of times you don't have time to be messing around with that stuff. So that's the whole thing of, oh, we can fix it in post. Kind of get away from that, all right? Yes, it's there, but if you shoot correctly, compose correctly, set your audio, set your white balance correctly, set your exposure correctly, all these things while you're in the field, that means you'll have a whole heck of a lot less to do later on. That also includes with composing those shots. So always remember that.